Today, we're going to tear open lighting.
What the fuck is that?
The shadow may know what evil lurks in the hearts of man, but great horror lighting can hide the evil that lurks everywhere else. It fills us with anticipation and exhilaration as we scour the shadows, hoping nothing is watching and waiting for us. But since we're watching a horror movie, we know it is. The horror trope of being trapped in a creepy house or cabin without working lights has been around for ages, and there's good reason. Candlelight is terrifying. It adds atmosphere and tension. The first thing we do when we walk into a house is turn on all the lights, so when the lights don't work, we know something's amiss. And if you're stuck in the middle of nowhere in a place where lights don't work or even exist, when the sun goes down, there's little to take comfort in. It's an old but reliable conceit still used effectively today, but can be seen as far back as James Whale and cinematographer Arthur Edison's 1932 film, The Old Dark House. A look they borrowed from the German expressionist directors who, because of constant power outages in Germany at the time, had to make do with very few working lights when making films. But even without the worry of blackouts, those intense shadows are a horror film staple that can be used so effectively today.
Why should we bother about the lamp?
In The Witch, candlelight, coupled with the dark exposure, creates low light and a chilling mood, obscuring most of the scene around it, literally keeping us in the dark as to what lingers in the corners. The gray and black color scheme only adds to the dire isolation of the film, because even if they've survived another night, the muted colors, desolate location, and soft lighting create an eerie emptiness that slowly consumes them. Don't rule out color as a tool of terror, though. Cinematographer Luciano Tovoli played with it so ghoulishly in the 1977 film Suspiria. The bright palette of primary colors magnifies the surreal and mysterious world of the Tanz Dance Academy. Tovoli even reflected certain key lights off a mirror to give the images a shimmering, intense quality. You'll notice this intensity is hard to pull your eyes away from. The lighting is as important a storytelling tool in the film as the script itself. Is there a more iconic or eerie scene than Father Merrin standing in front of Chris and Regan's home in The Exorcist? The image was inspired by René Magritte's 1954 painting, The Empire of Light. But cinematographer Owen Roizman made it his own. Dim light peeks out from the upstairs windows, revealing a lurking fog and gray-blue hue that seems to cling to the uninviting home. A home which towers over Merrin. He appears small compared to what's in front of him, a literal shadow of a man. Suddenly, the prospect of him as our savior against evil doesn't seem like a safe bet. He's about to step out of the safety of the street into a complete and awful unknown. As Roizman said, he and director William Friedkin wanted to create an ominous feeling, as if some lurking, mysterious thing was hanging over it. That bluish light isn't just for an effect outside the house either. It's thematic. It reappears inside, a representation of the physical chill that the demon manifests around it. You see it in the actor's breath. But the light itself helps hit home the icy inhumanness its occupant has created around it. That it highlights Regan from behind in this scene also illuminates how a well-placed light can create tension just by obscuring what's right in front of us. If the scariest things are the ones you can't see, then backlighting brings the fear by keeping our monster in silhouette. We can see it coming for us, but we still have no idea what it looks like, leaving it up to our twisted imaginations. And that imagination usually envisions a monster worse than anything we might actually see. Shadows can write their own sinister story as well. What appears to be a sweet scene, a small, innocent child standing amongst a sea of crosses in diffused, dreamlike light, is deceiving. A light, by the way, that cinematographer Gilbert Taylor had difficulty achieving until his wife handed him one of her silk stockings to put over the camera lens. Lighting provides its own imagery. Taylor also used star filters to make lights in the distance appear cross-like, never missing a moment to provide an always-present otherworldliness. Similarly, before the filming of Angel Heart, director Alan Parker noticed that the shadows created when sunlight seeped through electric fans looked like swords. He used this lighting effect throughout the film, a constant reminder that nowhere is safe. And that lack of safety is what horror movies are all about. Lighting helps by playing tricks on our mind. Where lights are directed, how many and where they're coming from steals the security from us. A well-placed light obscures places, images, and faces. It illuminates the cracks in the real world by keeping them in the darkness until they're ready to reveal themselves. But by that point, it's usually a little too late. And on that note, I think it's time to hide our tools and bury the body. Make sure to congratulate yourselves. You made it out alive. This time. For all the latest episodes, subscribe to Gamma Ray. And don't forget to share your favorite lighting in a horror film and why you love it. I'm Suzanne Keilly, and this is Dissecting Fear.